3, 2, 1. I'm sorry.
How do you support yourself when you're not working as an actor? And I said, my spine.
A lot of people struggle very much to understand what they're gonna do in their life. But with someone, it just happened. Maybe because some of your relatives doing this business?
Yeah, and by the way, I don't know if I ever really had that thought that this is what I'm going to do. It never occurred to me to do anything else, and it just kind of, life happens.
Interesting thoughts of Robert Downey Jr. and his parents. Who was his father and mother?
My mom and dad were actually kind of squares who found themselves being really entrenched in this kind of counterculture, underground filmmaking world.
Little Robert grows in a very interesting atmosphere. His father, Robert Downey Sr., was an actor, writer, and director. His mother, Elsie, was an actress who appeared in the movie of her husband. So, Robert Downey Jr. grows in an interesting world with very interesting characters in it.
My childhood was what I saw Exton having. It was absolutely natural, whether it was after hours and my dad was playing a poker game with, pick a name of someone who was in that kind of world in the late 60s, to him and my mom trying to beat each other with what a funny one-liner was for, this transitionary scene in a movie.
What do you think? What were the first memories in life of kid whose father is writer and director? Yes, I guess you're right. It will be like this.
My earliest memories are of cameras being on sets, being on stages, being on location.
This interview was taken when Robert Downey Jr. was 25 years old in 1990. 4 years ago, in 1986, Robert was the part of the cast of Saturday Night Live show.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
And here is the way how he got this job. There was an audition. What Robert Downey Jr. showed here.
You're looking at myself. You want to come outside, you kick my ass because you're sleeping with my mothers.
He was in this show for one season only, but he likes to do live TV shows. I can tell you that I was working on TV in live programs. It is very nice, but sometimes quite nervous.
I think doing live television is probably the most nerve-wracking thing you can do. You get out of that Attila outfit. We've got to get you into the spaceman suit. Jay Leno is very angry. Yeah, it's completely nerve-wracking.
Thunder! I'm sorry.
To be a kid of famous father, it's not easy. What Robert can say about his relationship with his dad? Did he want to be involved in the same business as his dad was?
Well, I remember, him being a writer and a director. I remember when I was 8 years old, I was in a movie of his, but it seemed kind of natural to me. Like, this is just what I'm doing. Daddy's making this, and I'm doing it too,
Actually, I was on the movie set many times, because I was working in the movie industry. And I know that it is quite boring to be there for people who is not involved in the process of filmmaking. But I guess young Robert liked it very much and understood, even in the childhood, that he wanted to be somewhere around filmmaking or even in the movies. But all of this because of his father.
I guess so. I mean, I really admire my father, and it seemed like he had a really good time and really got to communicate to a lot of people his kind of ideas, wacky or not,
At the age of 8, he was involved in the movie of his father, Robert Downey Sr., called Greaser's Palace. It was psychedelic western about strange man, Messiah, in the set of Wild West. And little Robert Downey Jr. played little kid.
In a film called Greaser's Palace.
Oh, sure, I remember.
Yeah, Greaser's Palace I was in. I played the little kid, of course.
It was not the first movie appearance of Robert Downey Jr. His real first movie was, of course, also his father's movie. It called Pond. And in final credits, Robert Downey Jr. was mentioned as Bob Downey.
Yeah, the first film I was in, my father got a grant to do this movie called Pound.
Script was about dogs in the pond. So young Robert thought that it is kind of National Geographic movie, but his father thinks different.
And then he said, I believe I'll cast people to play the dogs. It will make it more realistic.
Robert Downey Sr. for this movie cast real people to play different breeds of dogs.
Got a Mexican guy to be the Chihuahua.
Hey!
And he got a bald guy to be the Mexican hairless.
Robert Downey Jr. also had to play a dog. He was 6 years old, but he had a role with some lines. And the first one was...
I was supposed to play a puppy, and I go up to the guy and say, basically, "You're bald. You got any hair on your gooey bag?"
Have any hair on your balls?
When I start thinking I'm Iron Man, it's trouble at home.
In 1983, Robert worked not in the movie industry. As it happened very often, young people work in, let's say, hospitality business.
At the time, I was working in a restaurant called Central Falls. I was a busboy, and I was like...
In 1995, he was asked how he sees his career, or maybe he has some plans about it. I think it is very hard to predict your career when you are 30 years old. So...
I've seen a lot of people try to design a career, and they go, "I'm going to do a movie like this, I'm going to do a Johnny Handgun movie, and I'm going to..." And sometimes it really works, but for what? And then, you know...
30 years old Robert really liked what he was doing. He liked to be in the movies.
Anytime you get up, you know, at 6:10 in the morning and go to work for 14 hours a day or whatever, you know, I mean, it's a labor of love, even if it's you know, a cheesy sci-fi, you know, holiday picture.
Movies, it's not the only thing that interested Robert Downey Jr. Already in 1995, he answered a question about what he can do instead of acting. He answered like that.
I like writing music. I do. I've composed music for quite a long time. And it'd be great if I could do that.
What does it have to do with me? What is my reaction? What should it be?
At that time, young Robert thought about interesting things that could happen in his career.
When I start directing, I could score or do something like that, you know.
Act, direct, and score your own film.
Sure, why not? Oh, that sounds like Chaplin, doesn't it?
And here are some young Robert thoughts about what is making films.
So I always had this feeling that making films was organic and that it was supposed to seem strange and out of the ordinary.
What do you think? What Robert Downey Jr. would like to say to 17 years old himself? After all the role he played, after all the experience, after all the success he had, here it is.
It's going to go pretty well. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. I'm not going to tell you the specifics because you get too scared, but it turns out in a good place, and it never will get better than it is right now. So just appreciate where you are.
And of course, Iron Man. We all think about Robert Downey Jr. as the Iron Man. This is his role, and nobody can imagine anyone else in that red costume.
Anybody on our side hiding any shocking and fantastic abilities they'd like to disclose? I'm open to suggestions.
But here, what Robert thinks about this very famous character.
I didn't expect it to become what it became. It is this very large, multi-headed Hydra at this point.
Martin Scorsese once said about all Marvel movies that it is not cinema. What is your opinion on this? Write in the comments. Is Marvel movies a cinema or not?
Because it's his opinion, and
But it is cinema, isn't it?
I mean, it plays in theaters.
And what do you say to your other nickname, the Merchant of Death?
Interesting fact. When there was a filming in Atlanta, Robert wanted to live in a house with his own furniture, and he moved it from his home to Atlanta.
You had your furniture from home shipped to Atlanta so you would have your own furniture while you were there.
I didn't do a thing, the moving company.
He did.
And here is one more phrase from Robert Downey Jr. about his great part in Marvel movies.
Right? There's no Marvel Cinematic Universe without me. Yeah, I did everything.
Let's get back to acting. In each job, in each profession, there are things that you don't like to do. The same with actors. And there are two things that Robert Downey Jr. don't like to play in movies.
Opening doors, pretending you're surprised to see somebody that has been standing on the other side of the door waiting for the cue for you to open the door and pretend you're surprised to see them.
This was first, and now second act that he hates.
Driving a car and doing a bunch of like, all right, now do this, now do that. I hate it.
Once in the award ceremony, there was a surprise for Robert Downey Jr. to win an award, and he started his speech like that.
First of all, I'd like to thank Susan Downey for telling me that Matt Damon was going to win, so don't bother to prepare a speech.
So, Robert Downey Jr. is a great actor, great Iron Man. I hope to see him again many times in the Marvel movies, and not only in the Marvel movies.
Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to exit the donut.
We're not finished yet.
What are you?
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
I'm sorry.
And this is all for today. Have a great day. Bye.
Well, I'm going to send you love, and then I'm going to receive love. So here's me sending it. You get that?